We're going to get started. It is Thursday, November 16th, 2023, and this is a public deliberation of the Baltimore County Board of Appeals in case number 23053A in the matter of Kristopher and Meagan Hallengren at 12014 Boxer Hill Road. Regarding a petition for variance relief from Baltimore County Zoning Regulations, Section 400.3, to permit an accessory building with a height of 24 feet in lieu of the permitted 15 feet, appealing a May 22nd, 2023 opinion and order of the administrative law judge denying the petition. The petitioner was in attendance and was represented by our colleague Lawrence Schmidt, and the protestant Michael Rifkin was pro se. And as you may recall, the petitioner is seeking to rebuild an existing garage and add a second story to it for various uses accessory to his home. Property is in an RC4 zone, though the house was originally built when the property, well, it was before the RC zoning, and the property then became RC5, and sometime around 2000 was part of a large swath of land that was reclassified to RC4. Mr. Rifkin made arguments that the property, well, let's start with Mr. Schmidt's argument that the property is unique based on its irregular shape and very unusual topography, which falls from a high point at the road, Boxer Hill Road, and also slants from the, I guess it's the northern boundary line. So it's very tilted. And also that it is constrained by the existence of a private water line serving an adjoining property that runs north-south through this property and cannot be built over or relocated. And Mr. Hallengren testified that the property would be used, the additional story would be used for workspace and workout space. My recollection is the existing garage houses at least 3 vehicles, possibly 4, do you recall? But that they may want to use that first level if they acquire additional vehicles as their children age into driving. And then Mr. Rifkin argued that all the properties in the area have the same, are affected by steep slopes, not unlike this property, so that it is not unique in that regard. And I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. Who wants to start? Ms. Bernardi?
Actually, I was going to defer. I wanted to hear what my colleague says. I didn't know. I'm just if he wanted to start because I thought both made very strong arguments. I had one issue that I was leaning for.
Mr. Pennington, that we just punted.
Okay, I'll take it. I actually, Ms. Tompkins, you did a great job summarizing the arguments, and based on everything that I've heard and read, and the exhibits and the layouts of the land, I would consider this property unique for the first prong. The slope, yes, a lot of the lots, or most of the lots, have slopes, but I didn't see any lot that had the same type of slope this lot has. I mean, that garage sits down in almost like a hole. That the slope, obviously, it gradual slope from the front to the back, but that slope from the north down to the south, right where the house is, I didn't see any other lots in these maps that had anything quite the same as that. The the house has a retaining wall. I mean, if you're on top of the deck, you're almost to the top of the garage. And I don't see any other lots similar to that. Plus, as you mentioned, the water with the setbacks they have for the neighbor's property, they can't expand that garage as far as the footprint. So I definitely would consider this property unique.
And Ms. Bernardi, I'm gonna chime in so that first I want to say I can see where there is a good argument that the property is unique. It has physical constraints, unusual slopes, all of those physical features that one could effectively argue it is unique. I did not find either memorandum very persuasive. I don't think the uses that were given as justification have any real legal bearing so long as they're accessory to the principal structure. I don't care if his kids have cars or if he has a home gym. It's accessory to his home. That's all we need to know. And I just didn't think that strengthened the case. So then it came down to the question of whether the requirements of the zone affect this property differently than other properties in the zone as it relates to those constraints. And Mr. Rifkin gave us a very, very good graphic summary in his exhibits. And I specifically looked at his exhibit 5, pages 1 and 2, and page 2 of his exhibit 12. And what these showed us are the topography, other houses with similar characteristics, and if you look at exhibit 12, it shows the zoning of RC4 and RC5. And when you overlay them, which was not, by the way, real easy, you see, and you can see this on my neighborhood if you can figure out all the correct layers, that the RC4 zone does not apply to all those properties that Mr. Rifkin used to make his argument. So that those in the RC5 zone enjoyed a different standard imposed by the zoning than those in the RC4 zone. And it is the change in zone and the impact of the RC4 zone that I think pushes me toward agreeing with Mr. Pennington. It is a very close case, in my view. And I would like to hear what you have to say.
Sure. And so for me, I was going back and forth just reading the closing memos, and at first I was getting stuck on Mr. Rifkin's, reference to the Mueller case and whether or not there was the specific need for the variance must be substantial and not merely for the convenience of the appellant. And so I was getting stuck on the purpose for which this garage was going to be used. And then I was or become more persuaded by the petitioner and especially the expert testimony that was provided around the uniqueness of the property. It is in more of a bowl, as Mr. Pennington said. The footprint is established, and there's no other way to provide any relief but for it to build up. The garage is already in disrepair. There has to be some new construction or construction that's going to take place anyway. And I recall that I don't understand that. Just did you just hear an announcement about WebEx? Okay. I'm sorry. That came up on
Sorry
my
about
feed.
that.
Oh no, that's okay. And so then I was weighing in on that expert testimony. Uh, the petitioner attempted to have other architectural designs to try to fit within the variance and was unsuccessful in doing that. They make certain that the water lines were being preserved. So, the issue of one other neighbor who was protesting, I believe it was Mr. Myers, I feel that issue was resolved. So from both of the presentations, I am more persuaded by that of the petitioner around the uniqueness of that topography and how you described it, Mr. Stopton, satisfied and even more in that area. So I do believe it's unique and that it would create a practical difficulty if the variance was not granted.
Do you think that if we grant this, we should include any conditions that might mitigate whatever visual impacts there are on Mr. Rifkin's property?
I think that that would be fair and that would continue to run with the land, correct, so that if there are any other concerns in the future, they would be addressed and memorialized.
Mr. Pennington?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know I'm just going from memory now, but I remember looking at the views from the front of the property. I know there was a pretty sizable tree right in the front yard that almost masks the entire garage.
If it survives, I agree with you.
Right. So I'm fine with that.
I would go a little further. I would say that if the existing tree does not survive, there should be replacement trees of growing evergreen, and that as testified, there would be no windows on that side of the garage to impact its appearance from the street, so there would be no light coming from it. And I think this petitioner has pretty much maxed out what he can do on the property. It is not a large house. I went back to the SDAT records. and he is limited on impervious areas. So a tough case, but I think that we are in agreement, are we not?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will grant the petition with conditions that are intended to mitigate the impact and preserve the water line for the adjoiner to the north. And I thank you all. I think that concludes this deliberation. If I can ask you to remain for a moment, I'm going to see if I can lock this out so we can talk. I might need Tammy to do this because I'm not getting it.
We first have to have everybody leave. We have to
Have all the
check the
attendees.
need to yeah, I'm getting rid of them.
Okay, if you would do that for us, I'd appreciate it.
Give me just a moment.
It looks like now it's just us engines.
Yeah, I ejected everybody. I know they wanted to hang in and listen, but
Um,
let me see. Okay.
how do you want to handle this?
Okay,
I
and
think we need to stop the recording.
Let me stop the recording. Oh, good.